Hi everybody, in this video we're at a place that I didn't know about called Tinney Grove. I was reading in Sacred Places, Missouri by Barrett, and earlier I'd gone to the Richmond Pioneer Cemetery, and in the same chapter where he's talking about all the places in Ray County, he mentioned this, and this is in the far northeast part of the county. And I didn't know that we would find anything here, but thankfully we have this marker from the far west Missouri stake. They have a few of these. I'm trying to think. I know that they have one at Hiram Page's gravesite. They also have the one at David Whitmer's gravesite, and maybe a couple others. I might have to see if I can get in contact with somebody or if they have a website where they have all their markers. But here we go. Let's go ahead and read this. Tinney Grove. A familiar place to early members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Tinney Grove was a way station for 1830 saints who were both immigrating to and leaving Missouri. Saints Nathan and Mary Jane Tinney purchased a farm near here in March 1834. Notable Latter-day Saints who stayed in this area include Joe Smith Sr. and his wife, Lucy Mack. After the November 1838 arrest and imprisonment of Joseph and Hiram Smith in Far West, remaining family members sought refuge in Illinois. Quote, "For the want of teams, we were compelled to leave the most of our provisions and furniture," Lucy wrote. "The first day we arrived at a place called Tinney's Grove, where we lodged overnight in an old log house," end quote. In April 1839, Brigham Young and others of the 12 apostles traveled through here to meet at Far West under the cover of darkness to fulfill the Lord's command to depart on their missions from the temple lot there, Doctrine and Covenants 118, meaning Far West, the temple lot at Far West. After meeting in the early morning of the 26th of April, they traveled 32 miles and camped in Tinney Grove. Quote, "We learned that a mob had collected in different places, and on their arrival in Far West, they found out we had been there and transacted our business," end quote. Young recorded. Far West Missouri stake of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, 2022. So, I don't know if there was anything here before, but this is a relatively new sign, and I'm so glad that they've done this. It makes me wonder if they have other markers and signs in the works for other locations. When we were in Richmond, there were a couple other places that were mentioned in Sacred Places, Missouri, and we went to those locations and didn't see any signs. I may still do a video, but if I remember right, one of them was the house of Peter Whitmer Sr., and another one, the house of Jacob Whitmer, which was one of the 8 witnesses. Anyway, go over here to the left, and you have this Tinney Grove Village, established 1821, Tinney Grove School, 1847 to 1900, and Methodist Church, 1859 to 1948. I'm so glad to find these places because, again, I haven't seen Tinney Grove on any other website, and I'm trying to compile my own list of church sites. If you go to the description box of any of my videos, I have a link to my spreadsheet where I'm listing all these sites that I'm finding, and then I also have a map that you can open up in Google Earth, and I have place markers for every single sign and stone and monument and just everything that I'm finding. So hopefully you can use it yourself next time you come here, or if you live in this area and you didn't know about these places. But I think that's really neat, you know, because before we moved here, we lived in Kansas, and we'd been up here a couple times, and I remember going to Far West, and you read the signs that they have there, and they talk about that prophecy about the 12 leaving from that spot, the temple lot in Far West, on their missions, and how that prophecy was fulfilled. But this is another piece of that story. They came over here to Tinney Grove. I think that's amazing. Also the fact that you had the Prophet Joseph Smith's parents that came through here. And I have to double check this, but we didn't read this on the sign, I don't think, but in the book, it was talking about how this was basically the last presence that the church had in Missouri was Tinney Grove. A lot of the poorer saints that couldn't leave sooner, like that last group, they stayed here at Tinney Grove. So it just, you know, we drove up here not knowing if we were going to find anything. I was thinking, oh, okay, if that's still, you know, a township or an unincorporated place, maybe there's like a building or some central intersection or something. We kind of looked at the map. It didn't look like there was much, but I still wanted to just come up here and verify for myself. And I'm glad that I did, because there actually was a historical marker. And so it makes me wonder, as always, what other things are there to see that I don't know about? Do you know of any other sites that aren't on my map and not on my spreadsheet? If you know of any, let me know. Put it in the comments, send me an email. Make sure to include the address, and if you have GPS coordinates, even better. Excuse me. But I know that there's a couple places that are on private property. One of them I still plan to go see. I've already been there. The owner of the property at Rush Creek, they're members of the church, and they want to open it up, but they're trying to figure out the logistics of how to have people come see it. But the Rush Creek site is where you have members of Zion's camp that died of cholera and were buried there. 3 of them were discovered, I think in the 50s, and they were identified, and then their 3 bodies were moved to the Independence Cemetery called Mound Grove Cemetery. And I've done a video walking to go see that marker. There's kind of like a group headstone. But anyway, we got the Rush Creek site that's on private property owned by members of the church. They intend to open it up for tours and for people to come see sometime in the near future. I'm going to do a video there and kind of like do a little interview. And then there's the site of the Battle of Crooked Creek. I think it's what it's called. I'm not really familiar with that history, but I think it was a major site in the Mormon War in 1838. We'll see if that ever is opened up to people that want to come visit. I wouldn't be surprised if something happens, but we'll see. Beyond that, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if there are more things out there that are publicly available to go see, but you just don't know that they're there. So the goal, I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but I want to try and put together the most complete list of church sites on my spreadsheet and on my map. And who knows, maybe in the future maybe I'll put together a book, like a church, make my own church sites book. But anyway, as you can see down the road here, you get to this cemetery. But yeah, that's I walked through here before I started making this video just to see if there was anything that stood out. Not so much. It's a lot of newer headstones, and I don't think it really has anything to do with what we were just reading. In fact, those 3 green signs, didn't one of them talk about this and give the dates? I think this gravesite, or this cemetery, is probably after the saints were here. Okay, well, that's gonna be it for this one. I'll talk to you guys later.